Hello everyone. In today's video I will show you how to create platoons in Vissim. It will build on the previous video where I showed you how to add vehicles, but that was just a very simple one. So now we will tweak it further and I show you what kind of settings you need to do or use or change, and also how to deal with certain upcoming issues. So let's start with the Vissim part, what you need to do in Vissim. What you need to do there is you need to make sure that in the link behavior types and driving behaviors, so in the driving behavior you have already inbuilt autonomous vehicle driving behaviors. In those ones, and of course in other ones, you need to make sure that this is ticked on because by default it is not. So you need to select it. Of course, if you don't want to use AVs, you can use the platooning option for normal cars as well, but it won't be realistic really because normal vehicles or conventional human drivers can't really platoon. So it is probably best if you use normal or aggressive, and you just go there and just tick this box on. Also just consider these settings here. So the maximum number of vehicles in a platoon and speed and things like that. So those are your settings just to keep in mind them. And also in the link behavior settings, so your link, you check your link use is urban. So when you click on urban motorized, the default driving behavior is urban motorized. So here you need to click add and you need to select the vehicle class. You will load your vehicles and that should be set to the AV driving behavior that uses platoons. So again, driving behavior, make sure that you select one and then you set up the platoons. In the link behavior types, you make sure that for this vehicle class that has the vehicle type, you are loading vehicles that has the driving behavior set up. Make sure your link has the link behavior type that has these setups. And as I mentioned, you need to have a vehicle class for that platooning. And within that vehicle class, you must have that vehicle type that you are loading your vehicles in. So I'm using 630. I created a new vehicle type, just basically duplicated this one. So, so let me just show. So just duplicate this one, call it platoon, for example, and make sure that in the vehicle class you select that platoon, and here that is added. So now Vissim has been sorted. Let's have a look at the code. In this code I have tweaked it a bit further. So what we have is I have a few inputs. So what kind of speed do you want vehicles to be loaded? What gap you want them to be loaded to be, so them they will be in a platoon. Otherwise, they will just basically arrive overlapping. So the first ones starts to drive, then the second, third, fourth just wait there until there is enough distance, then they will start speeding up. Then the third one will start speeding up slowly, so it will be a very painful and slow process for them to get into the platoon. So it's better if you just add the gap in meters. So basically they will have 10 meters between them. You can have a platoon size here. Just these are just variables I use, and I will use them when I add. And what I do here, I will come back here later. So what I have here is if scene time equals to when, which is the simulation time basically with the step when you run scripts. Just be aware that especially if this period is set. So as you can see now, I'm running a whole, basically the whole simulation, like 200 seconds the script is running. So I will check for the time in the script now. So you don't need to pay attention on when do you use this. So as you can see, there is a decimal. So the simulation second is a float. It's a floating variable, float type. That means that it's not whole number. So it has number, then it has basically decimals after it. So I need to do some tweaking here. So I have a variable called sim time, which is just simulation time basically. And it forms or it contains three parts. This is the first part. This is the second part. And this is the third part. I concatenate these together into a string. And I also here you see the when is a string, is stored as a string. So I can check both together. I can compare them if they are equal or not. So these three sections, so what are they? So first I have Vissim simulation at value simsec. So this one is just the simulation second attribute. This one, the simulation second attribute. Yeah, in iSimulation attributes. So I can access that by Vissim simulation at value. In another video, I already explained this a little bit. I touched on it. Then, once we have it, I don't need so many brackets, so probably it's a bit annoying. I think I can just get rid of this. So Vissim at value simsec, and I convert it into a string because it is a floating, so that's a decimal number. So with a string, now it is the simulation second attribute in a string format, so it's like a text format. Then I use split. This is a Python method. It splits basically this string because that string looks something like this. Who knows how many zeros are there, or maybe one in the end. And in the next step, it will be that, it will be that, it will be that. So what I do, this returns this. When I convert it to a string, it basically does that. When I split it, I want to split this. So the split, an input for the split is this string here. As you can see, it's in brackets. So it's just a dot. So what I want to split this text where there is a dot. And this will be one part and the other will be the second part. So in here, in the square brackets, I said 0 because usually coding languages starts counting from 0. So this is the 0th element. This is the first element. So I take the 0th element. So this part, this up to this point, will create this for me. Then I have here, I append or I concatenate a dot to it. So basically I just say, put these two together. Then I do exactly the same as what I did before here. Split, just here I have one. I have, sorry, I have 1 instead of 0. So I want the second part after this cutting. So I want that. So it will basically put this one here. And here, with this in the square brackets, this double semicolon dot thing, and 1, I just basically keep the first character. So it will cut off all of that. So now, sim time is basically this string, and that. So I will have this together. And when in the same format, so I can compare them. Then I have a while loop. I have a while loop, and I have a I equals to 0. So I just a declaration. I just not declaration. I just give a default value for a variable, just a random variable. I just use it to basically cycle through platoon size. Platoon size is where I have the number of vehicles I want to input. So if I have 20 here, I just said while I is smaller than 20, do this. And then I increase the value of I with 1. So in the first time it comes in, I is 0, it is smaller than the platoon size, so I do that, I add the vehicle, then I increase it by 1. Then it comes in here, now I is 1, is still smaller, so I add another vehicle. Then I add one more to I will be 2 and then 3 and then 4, so it keeps going as long as it is not smaller than platoon size. So basically I will run this code 20 times in this case. And here, vehicle type, as you can see here, I have it in comment, greened out. So one is vehicle type, the input, and that is 630. That is the vehicle type I showed you I have. So vehicle type is 630, and in 630 is in the vehicle class 70, and that vehicle class 70 is here for the link behavior type, that it will use this kind of driving behavior. Then this is the link number, this is the lane number. Here, this is interesting. So I times gap. So gap is in meters, the gap between vehicles. So when I is 0, it will be 0. Then the second time, the first time it will be 10. So it will be added at the 10th meter or position of 10 meter. Then it will be 2, so it will be 20 meter, 30 meters. So basically I will have vehicles with that gap between them. Then I have the speed, that's 40 kilometer per hour in my case, and true, so that means they will interact with each other. And if I run the model, I just stop it at 99 so we can see what happens. I just tap it, and now I have the vehicles. And you can check the platoons. So I did a color code as well. But here you can see platoon size 6. That is indexing platoon first vehicle. This is the second vehicle, third, and so on. This is another platoon. This is a 7 sized. And this is the third in that platoon, and so on. And then as the simulation, sorry. And as the simulation goes, you can see that they split into 3 platoons. So that is the first, this is the first, this is the second, this is the third. And if you want less or more, I just put 5 here with a slower speed. And if the speed is slower, probably they can follow each other closer. So I reduce the gap as well. It goes to 99. And now I have my 5 vehicles. As you see, the first few seconds, they fix the distance between them to make sure that they follow each other with the proper following distance for the given speed. But this gap is quite important. Otherwise, they would just, okay, I can show you what would happen. So if I put like 1 meter, they would spend a lot of time just balancing out themselves first. So it just takes time for them to, and then they catch up and so on. So it's not very nice. I hope you like this. Discuss in the comment section if you have any questions or recommendations. If you want to support the channel, please like and subscribe or visit my Patreon page. I would appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.